Well, so we can tell a story about the sausage. There was a scientist, a very eminent scientist, who was rather liberal in his ways, who lived in Prussia, and who was the great leader of Prussia, who basically unified Germany and was what we would call prime minister, but he was the minister-president of Prussia.
Bismarck.
Von Bismarck, exactly. And this German pathologist, who was called Rudolf Virchow, was so opposed the mighty armaments program that Bismarck had started that he enraged Bismarck, who challenged him to a duel. So because he got to choose, this doctor, who was the first man to isolate the pathogen behind pork that had gone off, which is called Trichinella spiralis, said, OK, the weapons will be sausages, one of which would be poisonous, toxic, as you say, with this agent, this pathogen. So he challenged him to a breakfast, essentially. And Bismarck didn't like the idea, so called the whole thing off, which the challenger has the right to do.
So it's a sausage roulette?
Yeah, basically. Sausage roulette. Yeah, but with only two. And so you had a 50-50 chance of dying, so that's a pretty dangerous duel, sausage duel. So moving from the sausage to the balloon, the Monsieur Grandpré and Monsieur de Pique. We're going to get quite French because you know what they're like. In 1808, there was a dispute between these two over the affections of a young woman. They took to the skies in separate hot air balloons, each armed with a blunderbuss. De Pique shot first and missed. He had the first shot and he missed.
It was a moment, isn't it?
Grandpré then fired at de Pique's balloon and punctured it, sending him and his second down to their deaths.
Wow.
2,000 feet above Paris. So balloon, pretty damn dangerous, isn't it?
Very first female air passenger ever was in a hot air balloon. Elizabeth Tibble. She was an opera singer. She was dressed as Minerva and sang arias from opera as she fed the fire, and the balloon took off. But unfortunately, she landed and sprained her ankle. But
she was British.
She's the very first female air passenger.
So there's only one example of a billiard ball duel that we've been able to discover. That took place between a Monsieur L'Enfant and a Monsieur Melfant. They fell out over a game of billiards, not surprisingly, and so they used what was to hand, billiard balls. Presumably it was carom if they were French. And they decided to resolve their difference by pelting each other, one after the other, with billiard balls. Again, they drew straws to see who would throw first. And Melfant won, and he warned his opponent he would kill him with a one single strike, and he did. Straight between the eyes. Wow. Dead.
Wow.
Yeah.
God.
That's...
And he probably went, I was joking. I didn't think I'd actually hit you. Why didn't they use the cue? That would have been...
Yeah. So, of all the weapons we've described, probably the safest is the sword, because in duelling, all you have to do is get the draw first blood, as the phrase is. So you literally have to pink someone, just give them a little scratch, and it's called off by the seconds. Well, we got him. So, there we are, duelling. Now, why would you resupply your enemies with bullets when they'd run out of them? Just how crazy is that?
Silly,
or indeed a plastic spoon.
Unless they were...
Keep it fair.
Fake
No,
bullets.
real bullets.
Real bullets?
There's your enemy, you desperately want to defeat them, they're running out of ammunition, and you resupply them.
Are they bullets which explode when
Sabotage?
Are
No.
they somehow sabotaged?
Somebody else come to attack us. And
They're good bullets. No, you make a deal with it. It's
Fair.
A sense of honour.
Fair play.
It's something so wonderful, I think, that should guide the British government in its policy on a particular issue, one that's very dear to me and the nation, who have this marvellous building that I've had trouble pronouncing sometimes. It's in the Acropolis.
Yes.
It's where the Parthenon is. Yes. And it's the Parthenon we're discussing. So Greece, let's go back almost 200 years.
Right.
Who ran Greece 200 years ago?
Turks,
the Ottoman Empire. And there was a big movement to free Greece, led by Greeks, but also by some Britons, notably Lord Byron, who died there. And by 1820, they'd got quite a grip on the colonialists, and they'd pushed them all back up the Acropolis. And there they were, in the Parthenon, that wonderful building. And the Turks were firing, and they ran out of shot. Now, the original builders of the Acropolis were extraordinary architects. And they joined together these 70,000 pieces of marble in a magnificent way. They put in sheets of lead to protect it and the bits of iron staple and lead to keep connecting together the marble. But then, in 1820, when the Ottomans were defending it, they started to use these lead sheets to melt them down to make shot. And the Greeks said, we're not going to have that happen to the Parthenon.
So you give them bullets to stop them
They gave them bullets to stop them destroying the building they loved so much, that meant Athens to them. And if that story doesn't make the British government get off its arse and give back the Elgin marbles, I don't know what will.
If we do that, do we have to give back everything else
No,
as well?
no.
Because we've got lots of stuff, haven't we?
No, that's the slippery slope fallacy. It's the first fallacy of logic, and it just doesn't play. Anyway, yes, that's basically it. I didn't give you much of a chance to come in on that, did I? But it's a good story. I thought it was worth
like
telling.
it when you're passionate on a subject.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
But isn't it a wonderful story about human beings, that even in the face of death, that we revere beauty and great art?
Completely.
More than ourselves. I think that's marvellous.
It is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I agree. Right, now, let's go to real beauty and real splendour. Why was a pint of best in 19th century Norfolk? Just what the doctor ordered.
Oh. Has it got something medicinal in it?
Sure has. Poppies.
Heroin.
Obviously. Not heroin. Heroin wasn't discovered.
I'll give you heroin beer, please.
Not heroin, but
No wonder
opium.
Norfolk is kept to itself.
Yeah. Heroin needs a little bit more chemical skill than they were able to show in
more
Finland.
Breaking Bad.
Yes, basically. And they'd been having this stuff for ages and ages and ages. And then, in the 19th century, laudanum became very popular. Laudanum is a tincture of a small amount of opium with alcohol. Queen Victoria loved it, and they loved it in Fens. And they had it with beer, so they'd have poppy stuff in their beer. There was a period called the Great Binge, and it was really from sort of 1880s to the outbreak of the First World War and the banning of absinthe in France.
What a time to be alive.
Yes. As I say, Queen Victoria was addicted to laudanum. She'd have laudanum
Be
every night.
wealthy and idle in the great bin.
Yes. It was something.
They're talking about Weatherspoons right now, aren't they?
In our time, you could get kaolin and morphine perfectly.
Yes, supposedly to cure diarrhea. And you could also buy in boots, you could buy liquid aniseed, and you may say, what's the point of that? That's a fabulous trick. You know catnip for cats, obviously.
Yes.
Everyone knows how cats behave when you have catnip. Dogs behave like that to liquid aniseed. So you'd sprinkle it on your trouser legs. And you'd see little old ladies being pulled along the street. Fly after your trousers. It's quite extraordinary. While you were completely off your head on kaolin and morphine.
Oh, those are the days.
Good times, man. Good times.
Was this a private education you were receiving?
Yes. And I don't recommend it. Anyway, in Finland, they drank a lot of beer with their own poppies in it. Basically, Norfolk and Lincolnshire consumed over 5.5 tons a year, which was basically more than the whole country put together.
Do you
Yeah.
think it hindered the development of the region?
It might have done. It was known as stuff or best. And, yeah, basically, it did
Got any
destroy.
stuff?
Yes. In the 19th century, being an opium addict was normal for Norfolk. Nowadays, we're told that even sugar is a deadly poison. But are sugar-free sweets good for you?
They give you the runs. Honestly, if you are at all stuffed up, 2 sugar-free sweets, you'll be singing. I don't know why.
Well, I ought to warn you that you have missed your spend a penny chance. That was it. Because it's all about... Well, it's too late now.
Oh, yes.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, it's lycocin, which can have a mildly or moderately laxative effect. That's if you take a few of them. On the Amazon page where they sell sugar-free Haribo gummy bears, it clearly warns may cause stomach discomfort and or a laxative effect. The same page has over 250 comments. Stomach discomfort turns out to be a massive understatement.
Oh, yes.
Gastrointestinal Armageddon. Calamitous flatulence. Trumpets calling the demons back from hell. That's the noise, exactly.
I'm just adding some noises to the story.
Guttural pronouncement so loud it threatened to drown out my own voice. And flammable liquid napalm extruded. Those are some of the milder comments.
I've never known anything like it. I got some butterscotch sweets, and honestly, I had 2. And I thought it was a good way to help me lose weight, and it did.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I once tried to figure out how many gummy bears you could put into a remote control helicopter before you would
Too heavy.
compromise its
Yeah.
airborne stability.
And-
Because there's little tiny ones.
Yeah,
The
the little, really miniature ones.
Tiny
Yeah.
little miniature helicopters that can
One.
hover in them. I put one gummy bear in it as the pilot.
Yeah.
And it crashed immediately. One.
That's
so
a delicate aerodynamic
very
setup.
delicate aerodynamic. Yeah, yeah. One. I put him in the pilot seat really, and it went over like that. Whereas I should have put one on each rail, and it would have been fun. I know that now. No.
But thanks for passing it on.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Good. And now for the lethal concoction of toxic misapprehension and venomous disinformation that we call general ignorance. So fingers on buzzers, if you please.
Right.
Name a non-venomous snake. Yes.
The grass snake.
Oh, what? We thought you might say that.
Well, clearly.
Yeah.
Somebody's very quick on the
Didn't bother
timing.
to
otherwise.
say that.
All venomous, but just not very.
Yes. All snakes are venomous. Recent discovery by a man you know you can trust because of his name. He's called Professor Brian Fry. University of Queensland. And in 2013, he showed that even snakes that kill by constriction have venom in them, and it's been repurposed to create a sort of lubricant to help swallow the huge things that constrictors swallow. Wow. But it still contains small quantities of venom. Fry comments, I find that very odd saying that. Their toxins are the equivalent of a kiwi's wing or the sightless eyes of a blind cavefish, defunct remnants of a functional past. And he showed that the world's largest lizard, which is
Komodo dragon.
the Komodo dragon, yes, kills its prey with venom, which we all thought beforehand that it was killed with sort of bacteria, that it just basically bit it and it had such disgusting slobber that the thing caught infections.
Yeah, but they actually envenomate.
It seems so, yeah. The small fangs at the rear of a grass snake's mouth do actually spit out at you, and they'll hiss and they'll strike, and you will get a small itchy infection, envenomation, as you say.
Right.
So there you are. That's weird and surprising. There are no non-venomous snakes. They all have venom glands. How fast was the fastest mass extinction? How many years? I'll give you. Yeah.
The Liberal Democrats.
So about 2 weeks then.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
UKIP are like Top Gear for people who don't like cars.
Very good.
Thousands? Are we talking about thousands?
Thousands, yeah.
Thousands, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's talking about thousands. It happened 252 million years ago, ending the Permian period. It's known as the Great Dying. It sounds rather Star Trek, doesn't it? Oh. The Great Dying.
So what, sort of 5,000 years?
60,000 years. 70,000 years.
But there have been about 3 of these mass extinctions.
5? Well, yeah, supposedly we're in the 6th. We're in one at the moment. I mean, forget global warming, just simply by the way we're destroying habitats.
Eating them or running them over.
Yeah.
Or simply just competing for space and not giving them, monocultures, biodiversity.
And it's a staggering number a day, isn't it?
Oh, it's a huge number a day. It's horrifying. And,
Yeah.
Now, Alan, would you take a bullet for me?
Yes, Stephen.
Oh, thank you. Very good.
Sorry, no, I wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. Because you couldn't. I mean, that's to say, in the standard way, it's done. The diving in front of someone, you can't take a bullet for someone.
Well, you'd have to anticipate.
You'd have to anticipate in such an incredible way.
Accidental, acts.
Accidentally would. Because, of course, a bullet goes at 1,000 feet per second. That's from a handgun. 700 miles per hour, that is.
Did you know, I read this, you might like this because you like cricket, they've stopped using bowling machines because they've discovered that it doesn't help you at all. That the people who are very good at batting have worked it out before the ball's released by the shape and the angle of the arm of the bowler. Their anticipation is that much quicker. So it's actually of no use to you to practice with a machine. Yeah. You must practice with people.
With a human,
So you train
see the arm.
Seeing the person coming at you over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
So the notion that the Secret Service are going to throw themselves in front of the President is just silly.
Well, it has happened. It happened in the case of John Hinckley, who had a pop at Ronald Reagan in 1981. That's it, exactly.
That's how I would do it. I wouldn't use my head.
No, very sensible.
I'd use my arse.
Your arse.
My leg.
Yeah, I would use that.
I would use Bill. I'll get it out for you, Alan.
Here's a
that bag, I'm taking it home with me.
Why do people fall over when they've been shot?
It's just been shot.
No, is the answer.
Shock.
Because they're dead.
A dead person would fall over, obviously, where they've been shot in any way.
Not the speed, like the speed and the
impact.
No, none of those things will knock you over. No. Yeah, well,
unbelievable.
The impact.
The impact.
What a band.
It's
I
amusing.
banged my head on the fireplace the other day and I fell over.
That would do
Wait,
it.
wait, is this a lavatory question?
No, we already have.
No, I don't know.
Because they've seen it done in movies.
Really?
So in the
we have
Wild West, when they had a shootout, and because they'd never seen a cowboy film, people just carried on standing.
Yeah. Most people, when they're shot, don't know they've been shot.
Right.
We have it on the authority of the FBI Academy Firearms Training Unit that people generally do fall down when shot, but only when they know they have.
Right.
That's the point. Regardless of bullet caliber or where they're hit, people who've been shot don't know it yet. Don't fall over.
Unless you were shot and your leg was shot off. And
If
then
it was shot off, you would naturally, yeah.
There are circumstances.
There
in
are
which you fall
circumstances. But books, films and TV have educated us that we are supposed to fall down. That's what we do.
Right.
Now, is it wrong to eat people?
Undergraduate philosophy class.
Yes.
Depends on the circumstances. It would not have been wrong to eat Hitler, I would argue.
I think it's wrong to eat this one.
Yeah.
Unless that's Hitler.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a very good ethical point.
Are you saying there are some circumstances where it would be...
Well, cannibalism is not illegal in Britain.
Is it not?
Murder is. So to kill someone in order to
It
eat
is
them is
frowned
by
upon.
obviously illegal.
Dealt with by magistrates.
It's certainly, I mean, no, if I had to lose a liver, sorry, not a liver, a kidney, yeah.
Don't lose your liver.
No,
How
don't
many
lose a
livers
liver. A liver transplant, maybe. I might give my old liver to someone, say, by all means, fried up with some onions if you want to.
Oh, wow.
Well, you can eat placenta, can't you?
The
People have-
placenta is commonly
Yes,
fried after,
yes.
yeah, absolutely.
There's a special fork that for cannibalism. There's a three-pronged fork, and I've always thought if you saw one laid on a table when you'd been invited, it probably... Yeah.
So it's technically not illegal to eat anyone. And so if you were to, you know, at a funeral phrase, you just have a little nibble of
Well,
a
you
toe.
need the permission. You definitely need permission. As with anything.
Why hasn't anyone started, you know, in times of a recession, going, do you know what? I hardly walk anyway, so
Absolutely.
just have the left one.
People in the recession who hardly walk. That's a bad one, isn't it?
That is a really bad recession. In Germany in 2003, you may remember that case, there was a computer technician called Armin Meiwes,
that's right.
who conspired, as you might say, with an engineer called Bernd Brandes to sit down and eat with him. So Armin Meiwes cut off the penis of Bert Brandt with his permission and sat down to eat it with him. He then stabbed him and froze the corpse to eat later. Brandes gave him explicit permission for the whole scenario. He originally asked Meiwes to bite off his penis. This proved difficult. Meiwes had to use a knife. He then tried to eat his own severed penis raw.
Oh, not raw.
Yeah.
Oh.
He found it too chewy. Yeah. Have you had it cooked?
The danger of infection from that.
Yeah.
I mean, really. Oh, this is raw.
Yeah.
Get another fire pot on the grill.
Yeah. They fried it in salt, pepper, wine and garlic.
Oh, well, that's all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Not a little bit of curry powder
They
on
tasted it and agreed it was overdone, so fed it to the dog. He then killed Brandes, hung up the body on a meat hook and proceeded to eat it over the next 10 months. He was found guilty of a sort of killing on demand, but then he was retried and convicted of murder.
Did he go to prison or to some secure location?
He was locked in a happy eater for the rest of his life.
According to the law, eating people or bits of people is not wrong. Which brings me to the grisly business of the final scores and how interesting they are. Way out. Well, not way out, but slightly last, I'm sorry to say, with minus 19, is Jason Manford. Trailing clouds of glory in a very respectable third place, would you believe it, Alan Davies? Second, with minus 8, Bill Bales. Which can only mean that the winner is our token Dane with plus 6, Sandy Thompson. And with that, it's a big thank you and good night from Sandy, Jason, Bill, Alan and me. And we leave you with the last words of the poet Richard Savage, who died in 1743. I have something to say to you, sir. No, 'tis gone. Good night.
In space, a lot can happen, and it's not all nice there either. Tomorrow's Worlds.